A very good afternoon to respected seniors, colleagues, and ladies and gentlemen. I am Biraj Borwa. I am currently posted as Deputy Mission Director for Jaljeevan Mission Assam. I belong to the Assam Civil Services cadre, and I have been working as part of JJM Assam team since the last 3 years. Uh, Couple of months back, I have shifted to the mission directorate. Earlier, I was working as the ADM of a district from Assam, and I was heading the JJM program in the district itself. Therefore, it is a very good feeling to be on the other side of the table right now. So we would just like to share uh, the initiative that has been taken by JJM Assam in terms of implementation of JJM Brain. So as you can see on the presentation, JJM Brain standing for Building Reliant and Analytical Information Network. JJM Brain is an initiative that has been taken by the Mission Directorate, specifically by MD Kailash Karthik sir. And it is a step towards obtaining the digital water stack, which could maybe further be utilized by at the national level also. These are just baby steps. This is a work in development actually. And JJM Brain, we have already rolled out with a few ancillary features. We'll just have a look. So the JJM Brain is pioneering the digital water stack for holistic water governance. We'll just be sharing the experience from our side. Okay. So these are the agenda points. As you can see, there is an introduction, journey of the JJM Brain and the overview, the expected outcome and the conclusion. There is a special initiative called as Jal Kosh. And then finally we'll come to digital water stack initiative. Of course, as today in this session, we are primarily focusing on water quality. Uh, this is just a part of JJM Brain, one of the features, and we'll be trying to share the holistic JJM Brain experience. So this is if we look at the background of how JJM Brain was developed, initially this is the workflow of an implementation of any JJM scheme, particularly in our villages in Assam. Generally, for the majority of the schemes, we have single village schemes. Very few multi-village schemes are there. However, more or less the flow chart remains the same. So as you can see, the preliminary work offer starts from the awarding authority, and then the activities are taken by the panel contractor. Once the contractor accepts and does the activities, then they can submit their bank guarantee, and then once that is done, then they can move forward to the preliminary work order. And once the activities under preliminary work order are done, then they can move to the final work order, and then the implementation stage starts, and ultimately physically the JJM scheme is implemented at the site. This is the workflow more or less. Moving forward, so taking reference from the workflow, we had a design process wherein we identified that there are multiple activities that are going on during the execution of any JJM scheme physically. Therefore, it was very important for us to particularly catch the data, or perhaps uh, collect specific data which could be of help to us, or which could add to the importance of digital water stack. Therefore, as you can see, so we detailed out all the activities at every step that was done by the contractor and also by the third-party inspection agencies. At each step, an understanding was taken of what is to be done exactly, and who needs to be doing that activity. At each step, we also ensured that the quality of data was mentioned by capturing runtime as well as real-time data. So this is the design process. Moving on. So once the design process was in place, then we started shifting to how the IT would come into the picture, and then how we would operate basically. So as you can see, uh, basically the interactions, they were mapped to the most atomic level. And then if you notice, a lot of activities are there which are probably there as list of items in our work orders, and maybe a few instructions are given verbally by the site engineer to the contractor. However, we would like to capture a very specific few activities which would give us an overview of the progress of that particular scheme. So a finite set of tasks to enable the shift in operating mode. So we are capturing a very few tasks which will be able to give us a overview of the progress of the scheme. So as you can see, it has been observed that 10,000 plus contractors that were assigned tasks by the engineers and also by the third-party inspection agencies, they were ultimately adhered to, and then they were implemented at the site by the respective contractors. The TPIAs were able to verify the above tasks, and they were able to submit particularly 4 tasks at a time. And SOs, the sectional officers and the engineers were able to observe that the contractors and the TPIAs tasks were submitted at the level of or at the rate of 7 tasks to the executive engineer. So this is how we were able to capture specific data. Moving forward, this is just an example. As we all know, there are various components and assets to a JJM scheme. So in the actual scenario, we can notice that for any water supply scheme, uh, 2 major components, one is the deep tubewell and one is the elevated service reservoir. So for the deep tubewell, what we did is in JJM Brain itself, we developed a module wherein completion of a deep tubewell, there would be a payment milestone which would be linked to the contractor, and accordingly he could upload his progress and his bills for his timely payment. So as you can see, for the deep tubewell as a whole module, we could consider payment milestone as 100%. However, if we move to JJM Brain, for JJM Brain language, we divided the task, that particular task of deep tubewell, into subtasks. So we had around 5 or 6 subtasks which are needed to be done as part of activity for deep tubewell. And accordingly, after completion of each of these subtasks, then they were able to submit this data. So once the data is submitted, then it is moved to the third-party inspection agency login. And once the third-party inspection login, they also have a look at it, they verify, they scrutinize, and then once they approve it, then it moves to the next level. That is generally the SDO level or the SDO technical level, and then further it moves to the executive engineer level. So this is how it flows. This is just an example. Similarly, for elevated service reservoir, if you can see, primarily we had 4 milestones. However, in case of JJM Brain, we have divided it into further subtasks. So this is how we were able to capture specific data, which led us to believe and led us to accurately show the physical progress of a scheme. Okay, so by observing and by implementation of JJM Brain in capturing the data of physical progress of a scheme, what we could do is at the contractor level, they could build to deliver on expected activities. So the activities were very specific to them. The sectional officer could assign the very specific task to them, and they could achieve it. And there was a very clear, there was role clarity in terms of the contractors and the runtime and the real time. So in case there's a deep tubewell operation going on, there is casing which is being put in. So during runtime, we could capture the data, and also, once the activity was completed on that very particular day, they could update the data that the task is done. So we could capture the runtime and as well as the real-time data. And then as the data was very accurate, so there was confidence in sharing the data on the activities completed. And accordingly, once the activities were completed, the contractor could upload his bill as per the prescribed format, and then the timely approvals and payments were made to the contractors. So as on date, JJM Assam has promised the timely payment SLA or the deadline within a month. So within a month, all the contractors are getting paid depending on their bills that are getting raised. So this is it from the contractors level. Moving on. So for third-party inspection agencies, they had a runtime visibility to all the activities that were being done by the contractor, and they could observe and they could digitally verify and physically also go and inspect at the site for providing the appropriate approvals and simultaneously, ultimately make the payments at the issuing authority level. At the engineers level, they could regularly monitor the program. As we all know, JJM has been rolled out in all the villages in our rural areas. Therefore, I believe in Assam particularly, each sectional officer is assigned maybe more than 40 to 50 schemes, which he has to monitor on a daily basis. Therefore, maybe if he is unable to capture maybe a field visit each scheme every day, then through these apps and through these inputs, he is able to observe that the progress is going on as per whatever the deadline has been set. And then we could troubleshoot the issues related to performance, payments, and verifications as per the inputs that has been received on JJM Brain. At the state level, we were able to establish and oversee the efficacy of the process and the workflow. More or less, we could monitor the whole mission sitting in our mission directorate, and we could also leave behind the data or assets that can ease the state's challenges. So ultimately, the data that has been inputted by various stakeholders are being ultimately stored in JJM Brain, and this could further lead to a very robust digital water stack. Moving on. So a very vague overview on what needs to be done for various activities that are being taken once the preliminary work order is issued for any contractor. So let's have a look at some of the key activities that are being done. So let's say for the preliminary work offer that has been sent digitally to the contractor's inbox. So we have a module called as scheme monitoring tool that is part of JJM, wherein the contractors receive their preliminary work offer. We are saying, do we need to capture this? Yes, we do, because we need to maintain a digital document of the same. And then what are we exactly capturing? We are capturing the offer letter. And then at what point when the letter is sent from the PHED department or particularly the issuing authority. So this is also real-time data that is being captured. Similarly, if you could notice, there is preliminary work offers acceptance that is being done by the contractor, and then we record the data that he has accepted the offer. Accordingly, physically, the offer is being inspected by the contractor, and then he gives his inputs, and preliminary construction will also start. So all these all these activities are being considered. So this is how we started with in the planning stage. Basically, we just wanted to jot down the importance of capturing the data and for the particular activity, and what data are we collecting, and then at what particular point of time are we collecting. So once these parameters was there in place, then we could execute the same in JJM Brain using various tools. So tools come in the form of website, come in the form of mobile applications, and also come in the form of physical data that are being fed by a particular coordinator, what we name them as district coordinators, through the portal. So this is the data that is being captured. So as you can see, some of these activities, who will be doing? So for the preliminary construction activities, the contractor will be doing. How he will be doing? He will be using the contractor app. So the data that is being collected by all these mobile applications are being fed into the JJM Brain ultimately. And at the JJM Brain level, we are able to monitor. So this is the outer framework. And for in terms of how we observe or how we monitor, this is just a summary of the activities or the tasks that we had jotted down. Okay, so moving on. So now we have a background of the JJM brain. Now we coming to the JJM brain as a concept. So the JJM brain is basically a comprehensive software platform for the PWSS, which uh, we are using for basically scheme and compliance monitoring, performance guarantee management, implementing support agencies activities are being recorded, water user committees activities are being recorded, asset management, so the assets are being recorded, the GIS network or the distribution network of the scheme, and the other infrastructure related information are being recorded in this particular portal. So JJM brain portal. So So if you notice, the brain is a core portal for efficient monitoring and management. So the real-time updates are being given for scheme implementation. I mean, during scheme implementation, and also after once the schemes are being handed over to the water user committees, what we also know as PANI committees, the operation and maintenance parameters are also being recorded and they are being fed to the JJM brain. The functional assessment of the water supply scheme is also being recorded, and preventive maintenance data is also being recorded. So some of the key features of JJM Brain. So real-time project monitoring, of course, and then we have a central hub of stakeholders, various stakeholders, we'll come to that in the next slide, that are involved in the successful implementation of JJM schemes in our field. Uh, the project timelines, the project updates, material procurement, and financial details are also being recorded in the JJM Brain, and we are able to ensure effective project management. So these are some of the main stakeholders that are currently involved in implementation of scheme in our JJM Assam. So as you can see, so basically there is the scheme. So scheme details will include everything about the scheme, right from when the preliminary work order was issued, the work order was issued, what are the components of the scheme. So everything. There will be a particular scheme ID or what we call as the IMS ID. All these details will be recorded in the scheme. There is Jaldut, of course, INREM will be able to, they will be able to further explain. Jaldut is another program that wherein we have partnered with the education department and leveraging the reach and leveraging the spirit of students, school going students, we have tried to inculcate a sense of ownership of these JJM schemes and also try to create awareness on wash practices and various other good practices on usage of water. So under Jaldut, we do have training sessions such as which we have termed as Jalshalas. So there is a 2-day training session wherein the students are called in and then they are trained on water and community ownership and also how the scheme functions. Then they are followed up with a visit to the site. And once they go back after the site visit, they also have an interaction with an WhatsApp bot. We have developed a tool wherein we have set up a quiz kind of a competition wherein the students are interacting with the backend through WhatsApp bot. So they are given questions and they are answering those questions. Similarly, a lab, of course, since we are focusing on water quality, so all the water quality parameters are being recorded as on today. We know that they are being recorded on WQMIS. So we have made the provision in JJM Brain as and when we are allowed the integration into WQMIS, then we'll be able to fetch the data from WQMIS and accordingly have the data on JJM Brain as well. Apart from that, we also know that students are also doing the sampling. Those data are also being collected and being fed into JJM Brain. Similarly, grievance, we'll have a look at Jal Kosh. That will give you further insight into how we are dealing with grievances. Jal Mitras, so basically at the scheme level, the person who is operating the scheme, we have termed him as Jal Mitra. And Jal Mitras, they have also been given the access to a mobile application called as Jalmitra app, wherein they are able to capture various data related to his functionality. So every day his activities are being recorded, including uh, the digital reading that is being taken from the water flow meter. So every day, once the water is released into the distribution network, he is supposed to enter the data of the reading. So we that way we are able to know that the water has been released to all the households in our rural areas. Also, he is also able to report whether he is getting his monthly honorarium or not. So some features we'll be able to show later. Anganwadi centers have been involved. Of course, we all know. Uh, sorry. So we all know that schools and Anganwadi centers have been targeted to be provided with safe drinking water under JJM. So standalone schemes wherein we have tried to saturate those schools and Anganwadi centers, and where it is not possible, we have tried to provide an FSTC uh, from the nearby scheme. So Anganwadis have been involved. Water user committees too have been provided with an mobile application wherein they are able to record their details, their regular meetings, their documentation, their collection. So we have tried to put in a module where we are trying to, encapsulate the ledger or the accounts section of their basically water user committee. Similarly, for contractor, as we all know, contractors are being provided with this contractor app wherein all the tasks that are assigned to them are being reflected in that particular app, and they are being able to report back once the activities are being done. And then through contractor app, they are also being able to do the mapping of individual beneficiaries. So why once the mapping of individual beneficiaries, FSTC beneficiaries are done, we are also able to capture a somewhat vague village map of the distribution line. Similarly, for asset mapping, we have all the details that are being taken on JJM Brain, the GIS-based network. So for GIS based data collection, we are moving in multiple directions actually. So for GIS based, we are trying to encapsulate a feature in JJM Brain wherein we'll be able to uh, uh, basically include the distribution network. As on date, we are trying to develop the map through contractor app as on date. But we definitely are in the planning stage for incorporating another tool which will be able to give us a more accurate data of the distribution network. So there is automation, of course. Automations are going on in our schemes. Very few schemes have already started automation. So our automation are primarily in the functionality of the pump house mainly. So more or less within the scheme, within the premises of the scheme, we have tried to automate, and we are also piloting in other schemes. So implementing support agencies are there. Their activities are also being recorded. So these are some of the external stakeholders, as JJM MP have already shared with us that they have done a collaboration with NHM. Similarly, as you all know, that the district level teams are being headed by the district administration. Of course, they have been very supportive, and they have provided their support throughout to the PHED department at the district level in pushing for implementation of this JJM scheme. We have our citizens. So we have given access to citizens also. I'll be coming in the next slide. We have convergence with the Department of Education, wherein we have developed this activity called as Jaldut. Similarly, we have this collaboration with social welfare department. So basically, Anganwadi centers, whether they have received standalone schemes, whether they are functioning, whether they have done the backwash facilities or not. So these data are being recorded. Of late, very recently, we had a MOU signing and a convergence with National Health Mission Assam, wherein our concept is a little different. So we are trying to leverage the outreach and the reach basically of the ashas and the asha supervisors in the community. We are trying to leverage that strength of them to create awareness basically. So as we all know, at the field level, the ashas and the asha supervisors are generally conducting three kinds of meetings per month, which is their daily activities. So one is VHSND, one is VHSNC, and one is JAS, which is Jan Arogya Samiti. So in these three meetings, the ASHA is, we have requested them to include uh, two topics of JJM into their agendas. So they are trying to create awareness among the masses by incorporating agenda points in their regular meetings. So they don't have to conduct separate meetings, they are doing it in their regular meetings. And we are incentivizing them for each meeting. They are being given an incentive of rupees 15 rupees. So they conduct a total of 36 topics, we would say. So they are given a good sum at the end of the year. And similarly, we are also incentivizing them for creating awareness among the FSTC beneficiaries to construct their own soak pit and their platforms. So once if they are able to convert the awareness into physical structure, then the ASHA and the ASHA supervisors are also incentivized. In that terms, the ashas are incentivized at rupees 20, and the supervisor is also incentivized similarly. So this is our program with the NHM. PNRD, so as we all know that ultimately once the scheme is completed, then it is being handed over to the water user committees. In our water user committees, of course, we have the members from the PRIs and also from the Gram Panchayats. So they are also being involved. So we are having a convergence with PNRD, and we have already developed the water user committee mobile app, and we are also trying to add some features into it so that they can also capture the data, capture their financial data also. So as we all know, in Assam, basically the operation and maintenance is being run primarily through 15 Finance Commission that is being funded by PNRD. So the data, financial data may also be collected through this water user committee mobile app, which will be ultimately fed, which will be fed to JJM Brain. Similarly, rural livelihood mission or the self-help groups, the cluster level federations, they have been involved in various activities, including water quality, and also in CLFs have been included to create awareness as part of ISA activities as well. So these are the external stakeholders. We have tried to provide them with touch points wherein they can interact with JJM Brain. So these are just some of the expected outcomes. So we are expecting to have an enhanced water governance, and we'll be able to provide a better decision-making ecosystem. And accordingly, we'll be able to give improved citizen engagement and participation, and we'll be able to streamline the project execution and efficiency. Okay, so this is one feature of JJM Brain, wherein basically we have an unique QR code for each of our schemes. So we have printed these QR codes. We have printed these QR codes in 3 copies per scheme, and we have pasted it in an acrylic sheet, which we have installed in all these schemes. So once a citizen, if he has to, let's say there has been a technical glitch and he has not been receiving water since a couple of days, where will he be able to report? If he thinks that visiting the Gram Panchayat office or visiting the PhD office would consume a substantial amount of his time, then he can visit this scheme, he can scan the QR code, and then he can lodge his grievance. This is not only a public grievance redressal system. This basically is, I'll just show you the screenshots. So this is just some screenshots of Jalkosh. So once he scans the QR code, then he will get an overview details of the scheme. And then basically what we are focusing on are these. So he will get a basic details overview. He will get scheme details overview. He will get the field functionary overview. He will get the water quality overview. he will get the scheme components, he will get the scheme layout and the scheme evaluation. So this has been rolled out in two languages, English and Assamese. People can go and they can have a look, and also they can lodge their complaints. So once it is the complaints are being lodged, initially the complaint is transferred to the Jal Mitra, and if the Jal Mitra is able to resolve within his stipulated deadline, it is resolved then and there. If he is not, then it gets escalated automatically to the next authority, that is the sectional officer. And if the sectional officer is unable to do, it gets escalated to SDO and further to executive engineer. That is how it works. And we have also provided the links to our handles, so the citizens can go and access this. Okay, so before moving on to digital water stack, I would like to request Hemant, if you could provide a live demo of how the JJM brain interface looks like. I think there is no keyboard here. Could we? Yeah. Loud. Okay. See, okay, so this is how the portal looks like. Uh, So herein, this is the landing page. This is the home page. Of course, you can have a look at the admin details. And these are the latest notices wherein we have created some groups. Let's say for the executive engineer, there's a group of all the executive engineers in Assam, similarly for SDOs and so on and so forth. And we can publish push notices from our end, from the admin end to them, particularly to them. So their notices which are pertaining to them will be displayed on their notices dashboard. Similarly, as you can see on the right-hand side, there latest news which are being published from the admin login that is visible at their login. The calendar, it includes, of course, the government holidays data, and also we can schedule meetings from this calendar, wherein all the official meetings can be created here. And also the minutes of that particular meeting can also be recorded here. We have provided that facility. Similarly, if you notice, these are the latest activities. So as we are at the admin level, we are fetching the data for the whole state. If you could notice, this is a block. So Karunabari block has attached a water user committee to this particular scheme, Dokhin Nis Laluk scheme. This is, I think, I believe this is from Lakhimpur district of Assam. So this login category has basically updated this data, water user committee data, into this particular scheme. So all these activities are being shown to us as part of feed, as a feed. And if you have a look on the left-hand side, there is home, there is news, there is notice, meetings, task management. So these are also the task management. As I informed earlier that JJM contractor app, they have a facility wherein the tasks are being assigned on the app, and then accordingly they are reporting. So we have a dashboard of that. A very few features I'll be just showing. This is just one of the schemes. So let's click on that. So in the scheme, we have all these data. Similarly, a few important data which we are trying to capture is one is APDCL number for the electrical connection. We are trying to capture the status. So if you go to the update status, basically we have the status of the scheme. So we have four status. We are trying to capture the status of the scheme. We are also trying to capture the litholog. So all the lithologs that have been prepared till now manually are being able to be captured through JJM Brain. So a very quick run through this JJM Brain portal, and once all this data is been captured here, we can have a look at the admin level. Similarly, another very important feature is performance guarantee. So that is being captured here. So these are just some of the features that have been captured. Moving back to the presentation, one last feature that we will be able to present to you. Uh, so this is just baby steps towards ultimately having a digital water stack, which maybe the national level stakeholders could utilize. So basically, extension of JJM brings success to water governance, centralize and streamline water-related activities, real-time data for water supply quality metrics and infrastructure, and integration with the India stack framework. Uh, a very few snapshots of some of these schemes. We have a lot of activities going on, right from beautification of schemes, model water user committee, gardens, best gardens, similar activities are being carried out at the site level. So this is it from our side. We are open to questions now.
Thank you so much. I'm sure that this has set us a lot thinking into what we started out as a water quality and water quality data in this workshop. And I'm hoping that you are making the connections in your brain, about what it is. Obviously, what has been presented from Assam is a much wider framework on water and water data capture as a whole with people services. While I check, what is going on online from the team, uh, can someone give the mic to Amit? Yeah. Yeah, yeah, sure. So with permission from the participants, we are putting the presentations into a folder and we'll share it here. So we can take questions from here for the Assam team. I think one question from Pavan Sasdeva is that about ISA performance, the sense that how is it being measured? What was the median score is the next question. Since I don't know what is exactly trying to say. Was there a scoring over there? But how is it basically? How do you look at performance, of ISA? Is there an outcome kind of a thing over there?
That is a very good suggestion, actually. That is a very good suggestion. We have, of course, thought over it, but right now it is not developed. We are planning to have some sort of grading or ranking of such ISAs in the state. That is a very good suggestion. We'll try to incorporate that. As of now, it is not there.
A question from Hemlata ji.
Can I just add to?
We'll come to we'll just come to you. He wants to add to the response. Yes, Hemant.
With due permission. Yeah. Of course, there is another module which you call IPAD, ISA Performance Evaluation Tool. That is also a part of JJM Brain, where the entire set of activities that the ISA is supposed to carry out, right from the assigning ISAs to the village and their performance, their activities is being monitored. But the metrics, I think we have not, we know the activities that what the ISA is doing at the field level, and that that aspect has been covered. But the median score, I think we have not calculated.
Very interesting. Hemlata ji, please. Is it working? No, we'll just waiting to it. We'll come to you. I think it's better for also the online audience to use the mic if it's working, or we'll just get the other mic to you.
Yeah, in continuation to what performance of IAS is being asked. So I would say that like more than ISAs, I think water user committees assessment and their performance ranking is more critical because it is linked to a sustainability of a scheme. So I think it would be good to have that kind of a thing. And And more suggestion is that, like you said, that there are different committees, right? It would be good at a state level to merge and make one committee to take care of water and sanitation in totality, instead of having a village water and health and nutrition committee and village water and sanitation committee and then water user committee. It would be good to have one committee so that they can take care of
Suggestion
operational
taken, ma'am.
maintenance.
Suggestion taken. For the first query, actually, as on date, we are having a competition for the model water user committees. Actually, various parameters on the activities that are being done by the water user committees are being measured. So it is a what would you say? It is a tournament that is being ongoing. It is still not declared. So we are measuring them, and that particular data is being captured in JJM Brain.
When you talk about the assessment, as Deputy MD has mentioned, that there are various parameters, and one among them is also the collection efficiency, because these schemes are basically community driven. As of now, the government is there to support them through Finance Commission, 15 Finance, but eventually this is a community driven scheme. Therefore, the community is supposed to generate the fund for the operational maintenance of the schemes, and the collection efficiency is one among the parameters to assess the water user committee. And the performance wise, the water user committees are we are also thinking of incentivizing the water user committees that are doing exceptional good work. And secondly, of course, we have the state water and sanitation committee, and we have at district level, we have the district level committees. But of course, there should be a unified committee where this committee can engage with the communities directly. Of course, that will look into it. We'll take this suggestion.
So I just, it's first of all, I would recommend Assam government has very recommendable job on this, and actually we also facing to work on this. There is an integration of IMS. How you think about how to integrate, because both the system are working stand alone. How you are managing the data in the IMS from the district level, and what you think about, because we are also thinking the same system, but there is a glitch of integration of both the system.
So basically, this is a work in progress. With the IMIS data, of course, Pradeep sir is here online, so he will be hearing. So we are in round of talks with sir. Actually, we want to integrate with the IMIS platform as well as the WQMIS platform via APIs, wherein we'll just take required data from their database, and then accordingly we'll utilize the database to project it in our platform. So this is a work in progress. As on date, we are not able to pull the data completely from IMIS, but with sir's due permission, we'll be able to do it, I believe.
I just need one question more. There is any integration between the local revenue treasury board, because have you think about the e-payment to the contractor as well from the same system?
Yeah, all the stakeholders for which are involved in the payment of the bill of a contractor are onboarded already. So the module that I mentioned, named as scheme monitoring system, scheme monitoring tool. So SMT is a module which has already onboarded all the stakeholders that are being involved to make the physical payment. They have been onboarded.
Just to elaborate, the end-to-end digitalization, right from, as sir has already mentioned, right from awarding of the work, awarding the work order digitally, acceptance by the contractor, uh, uh, awarding according the administrative approval, the technical sanctions, and the task management up to with the task submission by the contractor that leads to the measurement of MB, e-measurement of MB, and that further moves towards e-bill automatically, and the payment that is released on the system itself. Of course, integration with the PFMS is not yet done. Uh, we are looking forward for that as well, but our system records the PFMS transaction ID for which the payment is being made.
We'll just get back to this audience here after we cover a few messages online. So first it is question from Pavan Sasdeva. So he had this similar question. So basically, he's assuming that when you actually get to a village, you are able to see things like the status of the schemes and then water quality and things of that sort. So his question was about that you actually know what is really going on, specifically on water quality problems and how to correct water quality issues. I think you kind of partly answered it that the system is ready and the discussion is going on with the center to integrate that data. The data is being pushed there, but then APIs will live, integrate it. So potentially it is possible. But right now the data is not integrated. The system is possibly ready, for that. So question about VWC is whether they are able to collect tariff and ensure O&M of schemes. What do you want to?
So for the collection of water tariff, basically we have empowered the water user committees. They can of course engage the Jal Mitras, or they may involve their own person from the water user committee, the members. So it is up to them. They can involve people for collection of tariff.
I think I saw further questions. I think this was about ISA performance and maybe there was another one. Yeah. So the question was about the system itself. I think broadly, whether it's water quality or O&M or grievance redressal, finally it is about Jal Mitras or Jal Doots or other water user committee members, within the village who are supposed to be interacting with a system like this, right? So the question from Madhavi Purohitaparyam was about when you actually take it to ground, then what is the effort which is going into training the people on ground, and then the second question was about is there provision to get feedback on the water supply service apart from grievance?
Okay, so attending to the first question, so the experience of deploying the whole system to the ground has been fruitful actually. Some of the mobile apps have been a hit actually. Such as the Jal Mitra app, wherein the Jal Mitra is able to capture his daily activities. Apart from that, a very important feature the data that he captures is regarding his honorarium. So he's of course interested to report if he's not receiving his honorarium. So it is a hit. JJM Jal Mitra app is a hit. Similarly, JJM contractors app is also has been taken very nicely, because the tasks that have been assigned are being notified as a push notification into the app, and then accordingly they report back upon completion of the activity. So some of the mobile apps have been taken up very wholeheartedly. A few of them, water user committees has just been rolled out in the field, so they'll take some time to accept the whole app. Similarly, the PGRS, the Public Grievance Redressal System, along with the scheme details that are being displayed through Jalkosh, that is the QR code, that has recently been rolled out, like a month or 2 months back. So that is also being picked up really well, because it provides a one-stop platform for the citizen to interact with the system. So they are able to do that. And so I think some of the touch points have been taken very well in the field. Of attending to the second question, is there also a provision to get the customer feedback? Yes. Not only lodging complaints, we can take the customer feedback through this QR code that is also named as Jalkosh, that is installed in the schemes. We have a question from there.
I think we can go to the back. Yes, please, ma'am.
Technologies. What are the technologies you have acquired before supplying the water? What are the treatment technologies you have acquired?
So we basically have a chemical dosing pump actually at the pump house. It is a very simple technology. It reads the parameters, and then accordingly when it comes into a range, then it doses the water that has come into the reservoir with chlorine. Basically, that is what is being done as of now. That is the equipment we have been using for water quality.
Oh, that means you are only doing the chlorination before supplying.
Sediment-
Nothing else. I mean, you have arsenic contamination in few areas.
Few pockets are there. Few pockets are there. We have tested, and then remedial actions are being taken, but they are very isolated. It is not a generalized solution actually.
What remedial measures you have taken there?
I think
I think INREM would be better.
yeah, because
able to say on that.
you aware?
I think broadly, slow sand filters is one broad thing which is going on there. I mean, like one person over here, I mean, Mr. A.B. Paul, you can share very closer details to you. The other thing is that JJM Assam works closely with the JJM Technology Chair in IIT Guwahati, who support with the technology support for problems like fluoride and arsenic. So there are specific
Okay.
technologies. Mr. A.B. Paul here is also working closely with them on specifically on fluoride and arsenic, which they are working on in Assam, electrolytic based methods and other methods. I think he can share further details. Maybe you can get in touch with them, post, during lunch and.
Okay, okay, sure. Thank you.
There is a little correction about our data. Water Users Committee was constructed in the year 1992, almost 30, 40 years ago. And very recently, as per MD, that Delhi team visited those areas and highly praised it. Who did it? How could you do it? Where from we got the idea? Since this, in 1992, I was superintending engineer. 67% of my schemes are closed for want of as little bit of 1,000 rupees, 2,000 rupees. So I had to propose for the users committee, but commissioner told me there is no system, so I will not allow you. If you do it, you'll be put into the jail. I started doing it. In the first year itself, 177. And thereafter, gradually in the year 1995, it was given the government approval in the cabinet decision. The very good, that has to continue. This is still continuing in Assam. Whenever one scheme is completed, it has to be handed over a users committee. And there are many, dozens of users committee, those who are having in the bank balance 1 million plus rupees. And there is Karatigam water supply scheme, I can tell you. They have taken up the 5 numbers of nearby water supply scheme for the maintenance. So in Assam, this is a very old process. In the year 1992, Water Users Committee, we had to fight a lot, but ultimately, as I told, 1995, government came forward. This is part. So that part should not be mistaken or should not be omitted, I mean to say.
Yes.
Because it will give a lot of people the inspiration how to fight with the government even. Under the threat, they will be put behind the bar. So this is one part. Another part is there should be real-time monitoring. A few years ago, AG people they came and they have shown hardly 20% of the schemes are giving water more than 20 minutes a day. That report is a confidential file. It never has been published, but somehow I got to the access to that. It is very pathetic. Till now, when I moved to the village, I asked them, how many hours you got that? Sir, hours? 20 minutes, sir. 30 minutes. It is no water supply. You people are talking this thing, what will happen? If 20 minutes is the water supply, most of the scheme 20 minutes to 30 minutes to 40 minutes even. Quality, quantity, and regularity. If you cannot maintain this three things, water supply will not stand at all. Quality, very fine, chlorination, etc. Quantity is very, very important. If they get 2 glasses of water per day, and for that rest, they'll have to go to the old method. They'll go to the pond, nijora, drains. Who will wait? And if there is no timing, mother cannot wait. With empty hand in the kitchen, when water will come, she'll cook the food. There has to be reasonable timing. Quality, quantity, timing, and real-time monitoring. Put the hand on your heart, I'll ask my engineers, tell me how many schemes are really running as on today. 9,000 plus water supply schemes are there. No monitoring at all. Real-time monitoring is very, very important. No brain will work. Whatever you give the name, these are the names only. Whatever the brain you give it, it will not work because there is no real-time monitoring. There should be a system so that at least overseer comes to know out of 105 water supply scheme, how many schemes have really started today? And when did it stop? And how many average water leave us at 55? Whether the 5 liters of water per capita he could have given it, but this is not taken care of at all. They say MD ne nahi kwa. What is MD? I'm telling you. What is MD? MD ne hai, everyone says MD ase, MD khuda.
Paul, can I respond to that?
Yes.
Yeah. So, I think first thing that he was trying to put forward is that there is a long history of the village
Yes,
level
yes,
institutions.
yes, yes.
And
Sundar sir, may I please intervene? I will just take the first question in respect
I'll
to
come to
Assam.
that. I'll come to that.
Okay.
There is a long history that is, we talk about village water sanitation committee and Pani Samitis, right? And very true that a state like Assam, has been institutionalizing, the people's committee and things. I mean, many of the people here were not born, right? When these things, the extraordinary struggles, that have happened, very true, right? And now, after so many years, we understand that, I think there is a lot of pain, which is being represented here. I think we should respect that because, when, and this is I mean, the system speaking, he was here yesterday, right? And we are all in the same boat in that sense. Tomorrow we'll be there. In that broader sense, I mean, together we are as citizens, the world, I mean, of this country, and together we want safe water to come to our homes, right? So in that sense, I mean, what Assam is trying to do over here is to accept the challenges which are there, and what I would request Mr. A.B. Paul here and also others to appreciate the fact that there is a honest and open acceptance that unless we involve people into the system, the only way to involve people is not necessarily through digital means, and we have been mentioning that, consistently, today. There are so many different ways and they are open to it and talking about it. And right now, for example, one of the initiatives that they have put forward is to put a specific QR code in every village and every scheme. It's an open measure to be transparent and accountable. And truly, yes, if when schemes are not working and if water is not being supplied, there is a possibility for people to be coming forward, utilizing this and report, right? And we just would like to put forward that this needs to be respected and honored, and and we have to support it and be part of it, right? Yes.
Yeah, and I just wanted to compliment sir what he said with respect to water user committee. Yes, there are a number of water user committees that are running for decades in Assam, and sustainably they are running for the decades without the help of the government. When we have witnessed such, and we have honored those WUCs, we are also taking those WUCs. They are invited, and we are even we are taking the functionaries from the water user committee to the nearby water user committee. We are also planning to have a conference of the water user committees where these people would be sharing their experience so that they can get motivated.
Yeah.
So we during the January 26 or 15 August, we are honoring this water user committee also. So there are committees, those are doing exceptionally good things. We need to just transfer that ownership, that spirit to other water user committees as well. So we are working on that part as well. Secondly, and what sir has anticipated, and that leads to the entire, what we talk about the brain or digital water stack, because basically it's a lack of reliable data source, lack of reliable and accessible master data is the core of the problem to each and every department, each and every state, right? Each and every program, each department, each ministry tends to maintain its own copy of data that is which is very difficult to update and is not accessible to others, right? So and this creates a problem, and none of us can have a holistic view of the program or whatever initiative the government takes. So here comes the role of when you talk about automation. Now we talked about Jal Mitra app, where we are just asking the Jal Mitra to click a picture of the flow meter, input, just text input the flow meter reading in the app, so that we can understand in the brain that the differential value in the flow reading itself will say that whether the water has been released or not. So that is on a simpler node. And again, now we are having the automation system where the pumping submersible pump or the all the motors running data is being automated, so that and the digital flow meter has been installed there. We get the data from the RTU channel to the brain system, which talks ki kitna pani, what quantity of pani water has been released today, what time, till what time the motor was on. Each and every attributes is been collected in the brain itself. So we are moving towards, because without IT intervention, it's very difficult to comply the what you talk about the three aspect of mission, like the regularity, standard water, and right the pardon quality, quantity, and regularity. So it's very, very difficult. So I'll just take meanwhile we take tea, I'll take 1 more minute.
We need to move to the next
Yeah,
presentation.
I'll just, because something the entire data stack is being left out, I'll just summarize things what we are essentially trying to do. Can you please move on the slide? I'll just show the architecture.
Actually, we need to conclude that and move forward. What I suggest, what I suggest, we have time for direct interactions.
So
between
allow
people.
me 1 minute.
Yeah,
I'll
sure.
wrap up.
Yeah, sure, sure.
Okay.
we can wrap up.
So with JJM brain and digital water stack, what already has been mentioned, we are capturing the entire digital data, that the administrative records, the work order records in a digital format. The contractor is being asked to submit for the entire activity. We have selected out few tasks among the major activities of PWSS. We have typically picked up few activities where the contractor is supposed to give us input on few of the tasks or subtasks that are being digitized. Say litholog. Litholog, what we are trying to essentially do is we are capturing the soil strata in a digitalized format, so that can be used by any other department, say water resource, in future. So moving towards, when we have the data, so we are over and above the Jal Jeevan Mission brain system, along with the India stack, we are trying to build the registries of each and every component in the water system, be it beneficiary. If the registry of beneficiary will be treated as a microservice, the asset, the water network, which we talked about, creating the GIS network, and its attributes are being digitally captured. So that will be treated as separate data. So above and over the Jal Jeevan Mission brain system, these registries are being created that can be leveraged by any other department to build any application for future reference or future any other purpose. So we are trying to build this in an open standard, so that anybody can consume this data through some open API standards. So this is what we are envisaging the digital water stack. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Hemanji, and thank you, Mr. Barua. I think what you're doing is probably, setting all of us thinking, and, I guess that this is going to be something which many other states are also going to talk about, and extraordinary work, and a round of applause again, for them to be working on this. And we understand that, the more we get into technology, the more we need to get into people, right? And we are understanding that, with newer things coming up. And that will be the theme, going ahead from many presentations that we'll have post lunch on the people side. Where are people here? How do we get them in, and how is it going to work? Meanwhile, um, till lunch and before lunch, it's great that I think one of the senior persons here, Mr. Paul, put forward this need for live monitoring, for things to, if a scheme is not working today, how do we know, and things of that sort. And there is a lot of interesting work going on. I'm sure that we are going to learn a bit more about it from Professor Nandkumar, about how they are bringing in newer ideas to take us towards the future. And I'm sure that is also going to address several of Mr. Paul's questions also. Professor Nandkumar from International Center for Water, IIT Madras. Please.
It is so much near to our heart.
Acha, you did some changes?
Just in the sequence a little bit.
Okay.
I just had this. I made some changes. उसको बंद कर दो, दोनों सेम टाइम ओपन नहीं होगा. बंद कर दिया ना पुराना प्रेजेंटेशन. ये इसमें है ना. हाँ, आज का है ना. हाँ, खोल खोल इसको. हाँ, नहीं, ये वाला ना 1141 है ना. देखो, ये उसके बाद है. नहीं नहीं, this one. Okay. Okay. Right, Shokar. Click over. Okay. Very good afternoon to all of you. Thank you, INREM, and the organization, organizers of this event, for the opportunity to talk about some of the work we are doing at the International Center for Clean Water. Before I go in, I know I'm standing between you and lunch. Sundar, I have 15-20 minutes. How much? 15 minutes? Okay. So I will spend a few minutes just introducing ICCW. And there is water and data implications. We are talking about water plus data. It's something like, how do you add data to idli vada and make it Swiggy? It adds a lot of value suddenly to something which is very mundane. So we're looking at water plus data and how it can add value. We've done some water security studies in districts. We just want to touch upon that because there were some discussions about water availability and how do we ensure long-term sustainability of water sources. We have done some work on real-time monitoring for the JJM mission. There was a challenge, grand challenge, where one of the startups that we worked with had participated. There is some innovation in sensors that is going on for real-time monitoring, low-cost sensors. I'll talk about that. Hydroinformatics is a branch of science which is gaining prominence. It connects water data to health, to environment, to other socio-economic indicators, and trying to build models whereby we can predict what can be the future course of water and what can be the future course of the society. Digital twins is something I'll touch upon. We are in very, very early stages. This is more a learning phase for us, but since it was added as a topic by Sundar, I'm just going to touch upon that. Okay. So International Center for Clean Water is a not-for-profit society. It is located at the IIT Madras Research Park. Our vision is very simple. We are talking about clean water for all. We added the word sustainable to it. We start with any idea, we nurture that idea and translate it all the way to a scalable business for sustainable clean water. Our location, as I said, is in IIT Madras Research Park, which has many other centers of excellence. And there are several startups, which is the ideal ecosystem for research and innovation. This is the governing board. Just to say that it is under the governance of IIT Madras. And what we do are two aspects. One is we do a lot of work on research. This is what happens inside the laboratory. It's a 20,000 square feet of space. We do work on low-cost sensors and materials for water treatment, which are sustainable in terms of reducing the carbon and water footprint. We also do analysis of any kind of water quality parameter and validate technologies for third parties. It could be startups, it could be large organizations. And all this generates a lot of data, which has helped us to build models, simulate future progress of technologies as well as the society and hydroinformatics. Then we take some of this work into the field. We have implementation. We start with basic consultancy or studies, surveys, and bring in technology interventions. These are mostly emerging technologies which are integrated to existing technologies, whether it's an industry or a community. And we look at O&M support. It's not easy. I mean, I'm making it sound maybe rather simple. It's not easy to make technology stick in the societies where we are. We find it extremely challenging to leave it and ensure that it runs on its own. We try to build a social business model whereby there is some money that is generated. If it is a water treatment plant, probably there is a volunteer who gets paid to maintain it. There is some O&M expense that is factored for 3 years to build a corpus, and thereafter it becomes financially sustainable. We do conduct outreach programs, training programs. We're actually working with the JJM Assam to have a training program in the month of January. We've done one for the erstwhile Ministry of Drinking Water and Sanitation in 2019. Some of you may have attended that, and various other similar activities. Finally, we have a very robust startup ecosystem, which has started with accelerator programs, and it is now matured into integrating backwards into incubation and early stage startups. So I'm not going into this in detail. Water plus data equal to value. There are a variety of contaminants today, both surface and groundwater, and they are significantly increasing. The new age contaminants are at parts per trillion levels, which makes it very difficult to analyze them. One doesn't know what health impact they are having. First of all, how do we trace presence of PFAS or microplastics or pesticide residue or pharmaceutical residue? This becomes very challenging. Then there is obviously the water nexus to energy, to health, to other parameters that I mentioned earlier. All we need today is fast and sensitive detection systems. How fast we can detect and how sensitive they are going down to the micro or nano level of their presence. And when we look at the sustainable development goals, almost all the goals are linked to water. So we believe that if we can touch water, there could be multiplier benefits in terms of the other indicators. So typically when we looked at the various water monitoring techniques, conventional instrument analysis has always been there, sending a water sample to a lab. It is expensive, it is time consuming, and there are a lot of challenges in terms of the sample collection itself. Sensor placement approach is there. Today we have managed to put stationary sensors which are relaying real-time information to the cloud. And this is giving us a kind of a capture which we are able to relate to some of the changes that are happening in the neighborhood. Model-based is somewhere where we're looking at predicting, looking at other parameters and seeing if multiple parameters are present, can it predict a third or fourth parameter? And this is more like a AI ML kind of interface where we can even look at bacteria and see if certain combination of chemicals are present, then bacteria may not be present. It's an evolving space. Microfluidic devices are devices where we can concentrate. When I say parts per trillion level, these are able to concentrate this using, if it is a metal, it's easy to concentrate it with, let's say, a kind of electrolytic process, and we are able to detect presence of trace elements very rapidly. Spectroscopy is another one. Every water drop which has contaminants in it has its own signature, has its own, let's say, fingerprint. If you're able to relate it to a spectral image, it's possible to then relate it to the actual parameter, provided we have a large volume of data, and that has a very direct correlation. So sustainable water development, we are looking at how much water is available, how is it being used. We talked about equitable distribution. This is very important in a public distribution system. There is a non-revenue water, which is water that is pumped but doesn't reach the consumer. I think the Assam team has done a fantastic work, but I was about to ask the question when time ran out, saying, how can we use this platform to detect Can we make water affordable? I know most of the utilities are not making money because water is considered free, and therefore there is a reluctance in terms of, charging. At the same time, people are spending an enormous amount of money to just get clean water today. So there's a huge gap between perception and reality. I'm sure the database, a platform like what you have created, can help us to understand equitable distribution, can help us to understand quality of water that is being delivered, and end of the day get what is called a service level benchmark. A consumer gets something today and there is a grievance mechanism. It's possible for them to keep feedback, and you can use that to see overall is their satisfaction level improving in the community. And that can really pave the way for charging more money and mitigating some of the challenges which are related to water in the other parts of the ecosystem, which may be health, energy, and so on. So quality at source, quality at end route, and quality at the tail node. And if they're recycling water, are people recycling water? And what is the quality of water after recycling? What is getting into the water bodies or ground level? Is it sustainable enough for us to withdraw and reconsume that again? So all this is required for sustainable water management. We did some work in Ramanathapuram, which is a drought-prone area. I mean, it's in the southern part of India. For decades, it has been starving of water. The collector there, I mean, he has 2 schemes that were developed by the Tamil Nadu Water and Drainage Board, or TWAD board. And the challenge was the water was coming from hundreds of kilometers away, somewhere near the Kaveri source. And by the time the water reaches, 50% of it is lost. And the remaining 50% is not equitably distributed because of various factors. There are political issues, there are geographical issues, and so on. And so we did a detailed study of what are the alternatives that are there in that district. Suppose water doesn't reach. Do we say that's it and let people fight for themselves, or is there something we can do? So what we did was we did a detailed mapping, a GIS mapping of every habitation that was there. There were 2,306 habitations across 11 blocks. And we found that many of them, these are villages, and all those reds are those villages where none of the habitations were getting even a drop of water. The blue were some of the habitations were getting and some were not getting. And those who were getting were minutes or hours on not just alternate days, it may be weekly or something like that. But they were getting some water and it was given a tick. Those which were green were the same situation, but every habitation was getting. So this is just one block. We did for all the blocks there. And we also mapped the population of the habitations. So once we know the population, we have the JJM mission's 55 LPCD for, let's say, a village. So we assume 10 LPCDs for drinking and say 45 is for washing and other purposes. So we know the demand. So you click on a habitation, you know what's the demand straight away. And then we know what the central supply scheme is delivering. This is based on a survey which was done. It was done through the village panchayat. They got the data. We didn't do ourselves. We said it's your data and this is the reality. Whether whoever has any difference of opinion, this is it. No, this is the status, because there's always multiple opinions. The TWAD board will say, no, we are supplying, but there's no metering, there's nobody knows, but they're collecting money. So there is always this dispute. I think all of you are aware of that. So we got this data, which is supposedly, from the horse's mouth. And what we did, or what we are attempting to do, the report is ready. We've said, why don't we give an app? Going back to Swiggy's Zomato. So what will this app do? It has a simple interface where you click on a block, a village, or a habitation and say how much water has been delivered today. It's obviously possible from an OH tank, which has some kind of a measurement system. And if you know the water that is available, you know the population, you know the shortfall immediately, instantaneously. And what we have mapped, if you can see all these dots, are the local water sources. Some of them are good for drinking, some of them are not good for drinking, but could be used for washing and other purposes. So immediately, because it is mapped, at the back end, it knows for this habitation what are the nearest sources. It triggers a message saying, move this water from there to the dispensing point, which is the standpoint in the village. And if this can be orchestrated, it is possible to actually deliver water at a particular time in a habitation. This is our proposal, to say that with data, you know how much water is there, what is the shortfall, where is the gap available. Today, people are doing it at their own whims and fancies. We want to bring in a system where the village panchayat or the block development officer says this is the amount of water, so-and-so will deliver it. So this is a mechanism we're trying to work out, which I think it could be a tanker or you switch on a pump and send the water there, right? So this is something which is in work in progress. The other thing we have done is, Pradeep Singh ji is very much aware, there was a company called iNet Aqua, one of the startup companies that we had allowed to participate in this challenge. They have implemented real-time monitoring systems in about 13 villages in Haryana, Ambala district. And this was at the tail node. So there is a source node, sorry, where the water treatment plant is there. And you could measure the pH, the TDS, and chlorine. At least these three are critical. If there are special requirements to measure nitrate or fluoride or something, that could be added. Now at the distribution node, the pressure can tend to drop. There are leakages. So you find out if there is a difference in pressure unusually, and you know whether there is a leakage. And then there is a tail node. Of course, tail nodes are hundreds of them. Every house is a tail node actually. So how do we ensure that sufficient water reaches and is the quality good? So in this particular case, we looked at the most distant house in that village and said, if that house gets water and the quality is good, it is presumed that every house gets it. But this is more of a approximation, but something is better than nothing. This was a system that's been put in place. And these are the villages, and this is the kind of setup that is there, the monitoring unit. This is stationary unit. So what we looked at is this unit inherently has a certain advantage in that it gives continuous information, but we are not able to find out the geographical spread of the data. So we looked at developing a field test kit, which is digital. Today, field test kits are dependent on color charts and high level of skill and reagent mixing and some chemicals. A BSc chemistry student must handle it, and still they could make mistakes. In our own experience, we found that no two reports tally because there is an approximation of reading color and coming to a judgment. So this small device here is a pocket device which has a kind of a photocell. And if you put a cuvette of water sample and put a couple of drops of reagent, this requires reagent. It measures the absorbance of light. There's a light source and there's a cell. And whatever the frequency is absorbed, it reflects that as the contaminant present. And it can be done for different contaminants. About 13 contaminants can be measured. And since it is connected by a Bluetooth to a mobile phone, it can measure the geography, the latitude, longitude, and upload the data onto the cloud instantaneously. So there is no error in capturing the data, minimizes the error, human error, both in the capture and the transcription of the data, and there is no time lost. And you can rapidly map the water quality of a community or a space. The other device which is shown here is a device which does not require any reagent at all. So it's like a briefcase. You connect it to a water flow. It could be a bore well. It could be a stationary source. You can pour water into that, or there is a pump which can pump water through this. There are about 13 electrodes in that, which can measure 10 parameters and flow and few other things. So 13 parameters in all. Again, within few minutes, it can measure the data and transfer the information to a cloud. So it actually depends on how fast we can take this device place to place so that we could rapidly map the water quality of a location. And a combination of this and the stationary unit. If you go back to the previous, so here there are stationary units, but there are distributions of habitations. So what we have suggested is if you can use either of these devices, of course, they cost a lot today. So we could look at a service model where cost per sample could be as low as 1,000 rupees or even less for 13 parameters, and you get it immediately. And you're able to build an algorithm which says, every day I measure a different part of the location. And over a period of time, I get a fairly good distribution of how the water is actually flowing and what I can predict actually what can happen tomorrow. So these are two things that are possible. So a digital field test kit reader, which gives information on an app. If some people said, can you give it on the display on the site itself, because not everybody has access to an app. We said, why not? We can give it as a digital device. And the small one, which requires little bit of a reagent use and some skills. It's not as complex as a current digital field test kit reader. So that is what I just wanted to quickly touch upon. There are some other developments which are happening. Online fluoride sensor. Fluoride remediation today happens, but there are no online systems which can detect at the end of the treatment plant in every 15 minutes what is happening to the fluoride level. If the fluoride level goes higher, can it return the water back for treatment rather than sending it down the line? And there is a range between 0.5 and 1.5 parts per million. It will say, okay, beyond 1.5, it will give a signal. And we've got a fairly linear graph of this. So this is a prototype which has been developed. We're looking at implementing it in one of the kiosks which are there, which is in a fluoride infested area. The multi-parameter microfluidic device that I talked about, this is very much still in the laboratory stage. It is funded through an Indo-Korean kind of funding, where we are looking at all these places where you put a drop of water and it will move in this direction. This is thinner than a paper, this device, and it has a micro groove in it. So very, very minimum water quantity will flow there. And because you put electrodes below that, it will concentrate a certain, ions. And if you want arsenic or cadmium or uranium or anything, you can concentrate it, and based on the current that it delivers, you know what is the ion and how much of it is there. So this is not yet commercializable, but it is where things are going today. And you can do multiple parameters with a single device. This I've already covered, the laboratory on call or a mobile unit, which can measure about 10 to 13 parameters instantly. And this is another device which we're looking at. It is still work in progress because it requires funding. What we are saying is, for a person in a village who wants to drink a glass of water, if he suddenly has a doubt whether I can drink it or not, now what will he do? He can't send it to a lab. He's thirsty. So can we give him a device which is like a small pen, and he puts it in that, and it gives a green light, means you drink it, red light, you don't drink it, okay? What does it mean? If you have a centrally treated water source, a utility, so they would have treated the water for basic contaminants. So anything that can change en route from the source to the place where it is consumed can be a pH can change. If there is some leakage or some contamination, the TDS can change, and there may be microbial, So this is what it will measure. It will measure pH, it will measure TDS, and it will see if there is any chlorine, residual chlorine present. If chlorine is absent, it will give a red light. Most of the time, it may be just chlorine, which is a problem. pH and TDS cannot really kill a person or make him fall sick. So we thought if we can give this device with a chlorine tablet and say if it is red, you put the chlorine tablet and drink that water. This may be a game changer for people in villages where, drinking water is a crisis. And it'll also protect the administration from saying, look, we are taking care, just in case the last mile something happened, there is a device which can help. And if we can price it at 500 rupees for a family, it may not be a big, today it is not, it is still like a torch today. And it costs about 10,000 rupees. We're trying to make it, more affordable. Hydroinformatics, I'm coming to this. These are dashboards which are trying to link water quality with other parameters of interest to us, like health. So spatio-temporal water quality mapping is easily possible, as I mentioned to you, we've done with a set of college students in Chennai. And wastewater-based epidemiology. During the SARS-CoV virus, this became a hot topic because in fact, what it says is to monitor the health of the city. Now we're talking about cities, but we could also look at, wherever there's a cluster of population. You look at this, the STP, water going into the STP, it tells you a lot about the character of that place in terms of the kind of, products that they use, which may have carcinogens present in it. It could be personal care, face creams. It could be new viruses entering the community. It could be illicit drugs, narcotics, which are being consumed, or even normal drugs, and percentage of diabetic. These are non-invasive ways of understanding what is happening in a community and any changes before the hospitals come to know. It is possible to detect some spikes. And all this is possible today with mass spectroscopy, where all we do is collect large volume of samples, build a kind of a library, build certain stable, graphs, and see if there are any spikes which can show some kind of chemical or biological markers. Okay, and this is possible to extend it from a small place to the entire country. Digital twins, as I said, this is very early stages for us. But what we are attempting to do is, there is a village in Tamil Nadu, where it was found that a medical doctor did a PhD in IIT, and then he found that there was a sudden increase of diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, and cancer in the people of that village. And one of the things we found was there was arsenic present on the rice that was grown there. So arsenic in southern India was unheard of till that time. And where did this come from was the next question. So we built a hypothesis. We said it could be coming from two sources. One is from the farming practices, agricultural practices. The other is it could be because Bhavani water is fed through canals to this village during the season. So it's passing through certain industrial towns. It may be coming from there. So we had done micro data analysis of various water sources. We looked at the health, public health, data, and to see where the people are suffering and what kind of agricultural practices are followed. And we found we traced it to high usage of fertilizers and pesticides when you use nitrates and phosphates. In the periodic table, arsenic is just below phosphorus. So in nature also they are found together. So if there is phosphate, then traces of arsenic is present. And if excess of fertilizer is used, it can result in soil and water contamination, which is what we are finding. And then somehow it sticks onto the food products that are grown there. From there, it gets distributed. Whoever buys that product, wherever it comes to Chennai or Bangalore, and we found it only on the surface. Fortunately, it was not inside the food itself. So with washing, it will go away, but chances are, it may stick. So this is one such thing. There could be many other such possibilities of linking. This is not really a digital twin because this is static data. What we are trying to evolve is we have put a real-time sensor, and then we have a field test kit to monitor what is happening in the neighborhood. We want to make it as real-time as possible so that if any change happens in the village, we pick it up on the digital twin, and we can simulate solutions. What if we were to make some changes in the practices? How will it reflect in the next, few months, few years? We cannot wait for so many years to find out the effect. But on a digital twin, maybe you can accelerate it and you can see the impact. And that may encourage more government to make some policy decisions or corporates to fund some kind of pilot projects. So that is what we are attempting to do here. So that's what I wanted to share. Thank you.